Another huge theme in the book, of course, is friendships, various friendships. But let's start out early. Your closest friend was Kent. And you associated with him, you got on very well with him, you found him to be similar with, in many ways with you. You went on long cruises with him. And then you lost him. And you write, I had retreated into myself, watching a slideshow in my mind's eye, taking through images of recent days, grasping for evidence that what I had heard wasn't true. He died tragically. Could you tell us a little bit about the loss you felt?
Yeah, my childhood really only had this one traumatic event in it. I'd had grandparents die, but at a pretty old age, and I'd never even contemplated the idea that somebody close to me, not to mention my very best friend, would just be killed. He had signed up for this mountain climbing class that both he and I and his parents thought was a little unusual because that wasn't what he was good at, but he was, once he decided to do something, put huge energy into it. And it was just so shocking. The headmaster called me up, made sure my parents were with me. But I had a few months there where I was just so taken aback that life could have that uncertainty. Who else would die or disappear? And he, was kind of a wonderful kid who I owe a lot to, because the idea of thinking about what career we would engage in, did ambassadors make good money? Did generals? Did scientists? Did CEOs? He got me reading business magazines.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7 World. I'm Priyanka Das and we'll be taking you through the top global stories. But first up, the headlines. Canada's Liberal Party names Mark Carney as Trudeau's successor. Carney says will keep retaliatory tariffs on US. US-China trade war heats up as Beijing's tariffs on US to take effect today. Israel cuts off electricity to Gaza. Israel and Hamas to resume Gaza ceasefire talks. Israel to send delegation for truce talks in Qatar. PM Modi to make official two-day visit to Mauritius. India-Mauritius expected to sign several MOUs. India win Champions Trophy 2025, third Champions Trophy title for India, as they beat New Zealand in the finals of Champions Trophy.
Congratulations to India.
And there it is. That's the moment.
Amid Trudeau's political downfall and trade war concerns, now Canada's Liberal Party has named Mark Carney as Trudeau's successor. Carney, 59, replaces Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who announced his resignation in January but remains Prime Minister until his successor is sworn in the coming days. Carney won in a landslide, winning 85.9% of the vote. The former central bank governor has a host of challenges to tackle, primarily being the trade war and federal elections that loom. Meanwhile, Carney has said that Canada will keep the retaliatory tariffs in place until the Americans show us respect.
We have made this the greatest country in the
Le
world.
Canada est l'un des plus
And
beaux
now-
pays du monde. L'un des plus grands. Et maintenant,
And now our neighbors want to take us.
nos voisins veulent nous annexer.
No way. No way.
Mais pas du tout.
There's someone who's trying to do
Il y a
the
une personne
opposite.
qui essaie de faire
There's
le
someone who's
contraire,
trying to
qui
weaken
essaie
our
d'affaiblir
economy.
notre économie.
Yeah. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, as we
Donald
know,
Trump,
has
comme nous
put,
le savons,
as the Prime Minister just said,
et le Premier ministre l'a
unjustified
souligné, a mis de
tariffs
l'avant
on
des
what we
tarifs
build, on
injustifiés
what we
sur tout ce que
sell,
nous
on
construisons,
how we
vendons
make a
et
living.
comment nous gagnons nos vies.
He's attacking
Il s'est attaqué
Canadian
aux
families,
travailleurs,
workers,
aux
and
familles et aux
businesses,
entreprises
and we
canadiennes.
cannot let him
Et on ne peut
succeed.
pas le laisser faire.
And we won't.
A man most Canadians barely recognized months ago now stands to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Mark Carney, a former central banker, is expected to take over the leadership of the Liberal Party, succeeding Justin Trudeau, who announced his resignation earlier this year. Carney will have just months to rebuild his party for a national election and protect Canada from Donald Trump's tariff threats and even annexation. Carney's story is unique. Born in Canada's Northwest Territories, he grew up in Edmonton, studied at Harvard and Oxford, and spent 13 years at Goldman Sachs. In 2008, he led Canada through the financial crisis as the Bank of Canada's governor. In 2013, he became the first non-British citizen to lead the Bank of England, steering the UK through Brexit. But Carney has never been a career politician. His rise began in 2021 when he aligned with the Liberal Party. By late 2023, Trudeau's popularity was plummeting. When Carney was offered the finance minister post in December, he declined. The move triggered internal turmoil, ultimately forcing Trudeau to step down. Carney now presents himself as a financial expert, not a typical politician. His campaign pitch was simple: fix Canada's economy and push back against Trump's trade threats. When Trump joked about annexing Canada, Carney shot back: "We find you attractive, but we are not moving in with you." A line that went viral. While Carney's background makes him ideal for managing economic turmoil, it also paints him as an outsider, a banker who spent more time working for foreign governments than his own. Yet Mark Carney's international clout could work in his favor. European leaders like Emmanuel Macron and former UK Chancellor George Osborne have praised his leadership, seeing him as a stabilizing force against Donald Trump. For a man who built his career behind closed doors, Mark Carney now finds himself in the heart of Canada's biggest political storm. Winning the election would be a milestone, but holding on to power under the looming shadow of Trump will be his real test. With Rhythm Arcadia, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Let's go across to Maha Siddiqui, who's joining us live from Vancouver. Maha, thank you so much for joining us. Now we understand that Carney has successfully navigated through several financial crises when he was the Bank of Canada's governor, as well as the governor of the Bank of England. How's that likely to sort of impact his policies going ahead, Maha? What do you think?
This is one of the biggest reasons why we are seeing Mark Carney where he is at the moment, having won the race to the Liberal Party leader by 86% almost, which is even higher than what Trudeau managed to get in 2013, which was 80%. A lot of hopes now hinging on him as an economist, as a banker, to be able to navigate through the war that has been unleashed by US President Donald Trump on the issue of tariffs. As far as tariffs themselves are concerned and the retaliatory tariffs that have been announced by Canada, Mark Carney has today made it clear that they will go ahead unless the US shows respect to Canada. The first batch of the retaliatory tariffs by Canada are already in force for about $30 billion billion worth of goods coming in from the United States. Another $125 billion worth of goods, the retaliatory tariffs on those have been kept on hold till the 2nd of April, when Donald Trump has said that the rest of the equal retaliatory tariffs, as he's calling, globally will go out and be announced by the White House. So at the moment, this is the current situation with tariffs. On the domestic policy front, Mark Carney has been attacked on issues like the carbon tax, and he has indicated that he will or he might pull that back, though it is very important in the fight on climate action that is against climate change.
Right,
However, since it's unpopular, he's unlikely to take that back. Priyanka.
All right, Maha, thank you so much for getting us those details. We're also joined by Terry Miluscu, who is the retired senior correspondent at CBC, joining us live from Ottawa. Mr. Miluscu, help us understand really the perception of Carney as a leader, as someone who has a very strong background in economics and finance. How's that like to shape his policies going ahead, considering the geopolitical tensions and the tariff concerns as of now?
Well, it has made a big difference on the election campaign, which, of course, has already informally begun as soon as Trudeau announced his resignation back on January the 6th. And in the month and a half since then, the Liberal political fortunes have completely reversed, from being as much as 30 points behind the Conservatives, written off by the experts as inevitable losers of the election, which will soon follow all this. And now, suddenly, wait a minute, hold that thought, because it's all changed. Instead of an election about how unpopular Trudeau is, now it's an election about how unpopular Trump is and who's best to deal with him. And the Liberal Party, which has an eye on keeping their jobs in Parliament, the Liberal Party membership has decided that to deal with the financial crisis, we need somebody who convincingly dealt not with one but with two financial crises in his former life. First, the financial crisis of 2008 when he was Bank of Canada governor, and then the Brexit crisis when he was Bank of England governor. So the message is he's been there. Don't hire a full-time politician for for a job that requires real international sophistication and expertise.
Right, Mr. Miluscu, thank you so much for sharing your insights on Carney's appointment as the Prime Minister of Canada. Moving on to our next story, where trade tensions between US and China is heating up as Beijing begins levying the tariffs on certain US agricultural goods. That is in retaliation to President Donald Trump's latest hike on the Chinese imports. Now, Beijing has accused Washington of undermining the multilateral trading system. The moves will see fresh tariffs of 10 and 15% imposed on several US farm products starting today. Now let's go on. We're joined live by Daniel Block, who's a senior editor and foreign affairs and contributing editor at the Washington Monthly. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Block. But my question really, how is it likely to impact the already strained ties between the US and China, with China imposing the tariffs starting today?
Well, I think it's likely to further strain ties between the two countries. And I say that even though this was not a surprise. Donald Trump really launched the trade war between the two countries during his first term in office. So in some ways, he began this back and forth and is now kicking it up another notch and intensifying it. And for both Xi and for Trump, there's much to be said. There's much to be gained from looking tough on the other. Neither really wants to look like they're going to cave or back down. And so I think both are willing to take a good deal of economic heat and economic pain in order to see this trade war through. So I think we're going to see kind of the continued, perhaps slow motion decoupling of the two economies. They're going to become less intertwined, less interdependent than they have been in the past. Just how separate they're going to be remains to be seen. But I think this is going to be continued cooling off of relations between the two countries.
That's right, Mr. Block. Thank you so much for getting us on those details. As we move on to our next story, which is again from the US, where Secretary of the State Marco Rubio and Trump advisor Elon Musk had sparred with Poland's foreign minister. They urged the Polish finance minister to be quiet and thankful for keeping Russia away from his doorstep. In a message on X calling for a peaceful end to Russia's war in Ukraine, Musk said his Starlink system is the backbone of the Ukrainian army. Now, Poland's foreign minister has said that the country may turn to other suppliers if Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet service were to be shut off for Ukraine. Now, Poland funds Ukraine's use of Starlink, and US Senator Marco Rubio has also chimed in, dismissing Poland's remarks as baseless. Staying on Marco Rubio, he's all set to visit Saudi Arabia starting March 10 to 12 for talks with Ukrainian counterparts. This after US President Trump paused military aid and aid intelligence sharing with Ukraine after a White House clash with Ukrainian President Zelensky on February 28. Now, Rubio and Zelensky will hold talks with Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman on Monday. Zelensky is scheduled to meet the US team on Tuesday. Moving on to our next story that we're tracking very closely is that Israeli Energy Minister and Cabinet member Eli Cohen has issued an order to stop the flow of electricity to the Gaza Strip effective immediately. In a video address, Eli Cohen stated, and I'm quoting him, "I've just signed an order to immediately cut off electricity to Gaza. We will use every tool available to bring back all the hostages and ensure Hamas won't remain in Gaza afterward," he said in the video address. Now, in the initial stage of the ceasefire, some 25 Israeli captives have been held by Hamas in Gaza, were released along with the bodies of the 8 that were deceased, in return for the liberation of almost 2,000 Palestinian detainees from the Israeli prisons. Now, Israel has confirmed that it will send a delegation to Qatar's capital for talks on extending a fragile ceasefire with Hamas. On Saturday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that a delegation would be sent to Doha on Monday in an effort to advance the negotiations. Now, this comes after Hamas team met the Egyptian officials at Cairo on Saturday to negotiate the second phase of the ceasefire deal. In the earlier comments, Hamas has said that the indicators are positive regarding the start of the negotiations for the second phase. Moving on to Syria, which has been hit by violence. Now, the country has joined the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or the OIC. Now, the membership was reinstated following an extraordinary meeting of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers convened in Jeddah on Friday to discuss the ongoing Israeli offensive against the Palestinian people and the plan for annexation and forced displacement from their land. Now, the death toll from the 2 days of clashes between the Syrian security forces and loyalists of ousted President Bashar Assad and revenge killings that followed has risen to more than 1,000. This is according to a war monitoring group, making it eventually one of the deadliest acts of violence since Syria's conflict began 14 years ago. Now, moving to Iran, where the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that Iran will not be bullied into negotiations. This is a day after US President Donald Trump said that he had sent a letter to the country's top authority urging Tehran to negotiate a nuclear deal. At a meeting with the senior Iranian officials, Khamenei said that Washington's aim was to impose their own expectations. The insistence of some bullying governments on negotiations is not to resolve issues. The talks for them is a pathway to have new demands. It is not really about Iran's nuclear issue. Iran will definitely not accept their expectations. This is what Khamenei said at a press meet without mentioning Trump directly. All right, viewers, it's time for us to take a short commercial break. Lots more news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
AI scientists, and some would even call him a rock star in the AI space.
We definitely need AI for is to unlock some of the mysteries of nature.
As someone who is an AI scientist, what is your goal?
Our civilization is facing a number of sort of challenges, and I think this is where AI comes into the picture.
Will this replace most jobs?
The new generation of AI models is that they have cognitive ability.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Path-breaking innovation and a lot that technology can achieve. But I feel this is one question that I must ask simply because it impacts so many people's lives, which is the role AI is playing in our lives in terms of some sort of a disinformation, that's also happening, and a large part of company and government's resources goes in addressing some of this. As I said, it may look much lower in the tech ladder in terms of what you're doing, but it impacts people's lives. So how can Google sort of address the flip side to AI, which is some of the disinformation that we see? I mean, it may be an inevitable outcome of what you are doing, but is there a way of reducing its potential pitfalls?
So yeah, absolutely. In fact, we think that this is a very important sort of topic that deserves a lot of thought and care. With generative AI especially, it has the ability to sort of generate text, images, audio and video. That ability is very powerful and very useful in many contexts, but it also comes with the risks, right? If the same power is used for malicious purposes. So to make sure that users, when they are consuming this information, they understand whether this content is naturally generated or is synthetically generated, we came up with this technology called SynthID, which is a sort of watermarking scheme which embeds information in the content itself. And we were one of the pioneers in basically doing this. Google was a complete pioneer in sort of doing this, and not only have we integrated this in our models, but in some cases we have also open sourced it, so that other sort of companies and other players in the ecosystem can also sort of employ this and adopt this practice for their own products.
AI scientists, and some would even call him a rock star in the AI space.
We definitely need AI for is to unlock some of the mysteries of nature.
As someone who is an AI scientist, what is your goal?
Our civilization is facing a number of sort of challenges, and I think this is where AI comes into the picture.
Will this replace most jobs?
The new generation of AI models is that they have cognitive ability.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations,
Welcome back. You're watching NDTV 24/7 World, and the big story we're tracking right now is PM Modi, who is all set to begin his two-day visit to Mauritius. Now, the PM is all set to grace the island nation's National Day celebrations as the chief guest on March 12th. Several pacts in areas of capacity building, trade and tackling cross-border financial crimes are likely to be signed during the trip starting Tuesday. A special reason for the bilateral ties is also that Indian origin people comprise nearly 70% of the island nation's population of 12 lakhs. We're joined now live by Mohammed Ghazali. Ghazali, help us understand the significance of PM Modi's trip to Mauritius, considering the India link, really.
See, as you rightly pointed out, there are multiple parts of this diplomacy or the relations between India and Mauritius. One, if you see more than 70% population is of Indian origin, so there is always that part of the soft diplomacy which Prime Minister professes, which Prime Minister promotes all the time whenever he visits a country to see that how he is welcomed by the Indian diaspora. And in multiple countries in the past, when Prime Minister has visited, he has highlighted that how the Indian diaspora has sort of contributed towards the development of that particular country, Mauritius being one of them. Now, when it comes to India-Mauritius relations, it is very significant as far as the geostrategic location of Mauritius is concerned. It's part of the Indian Ocean region. It also happens to be the gateway to Africa for India. Now, if you remember, back in 2015, when the Prime Minister visited here for the first time, he had envisioned and announced the Sagar policy of India, which is security and growth for all in the Indian Ocean region. And that is from where India and Mauritius has started deepening its ties when it comes to maritime security. Another important aspect of this relations is that we know that how in our neighborhood regime changes have happened. We have seen a new government in Sri Lanka. We have seen that happening in Bangladesh, and many of these countries are still under the influence of China. And Mauritius being on our side certainly helps us in maritime security.
Right,
another important aspect is that Indian diplomacy has always been...
Right, Ghazali, thank you so much for getting us all these details live from Mauritius as PM Modi embarks on the two-day visit. Now moving on to the next, where a series of firefighters sought to contain the wind-driven brush fire on Long Island. Now officials have warned that high wind gusts could leave the region vulnerable to additional blazes. This is accordingly, a state emergency was also declared a day earlier after 4 separate fires broke out across the large swaths of Long Island's Pine Barrens region, now prompting closures of highways and evacuations of a military base. As of Sunday, all visible flames had been knocked down, including the last remaining fire burning in the hamlet of West Hampton. Authorities say that the fire has not grown since early Sunday, and the cause of the fire is being investigated. Now, turning our focus to some sports stories, India defeated New Zealand by 4 wickets to claim the Champions Trophy title in Dubai on Sunday. The men in blue chased down New Zealand's 252-run target to clinch the title for a record 3rd time. Captain Rohit Sharma led from the front, scoring 76 and was bestowed with the Player of the Match award. India were also helped by a 48 from Shreyas Iyer and an unbeaten 34 from KL Rahul as they chased down New Zealand's 252-run target with 6 balls to spare. Rohit became the second captain of India to win 2 ICC trophies after the victory. He previously led India to victory in the 2024 ICC T20 World Cup.
A day that you had planned, which is to come here with family, get the kids involved, and let's show the jersey that you're wearing. What are you wearing and where did you get it from?
I am wearing a jersey that I got from India.
You got it from India?
I didn't actually get it, but my mom got it.
And are you happy and proud to wear it?
Yes.
And what does it mean to you to wear an India jersey?
I don't know.
No. What does it mean to you to wear an India jersey in London, which is the home of cricket?
Always feel like a proud Indian wearing it.
Pride.
We carry pride on our shoulders.
And on the eyes, you have blue eyeliners as well, as much as blue as you can.
Hair.
Blue hair.
We're doing everything.
Oh yes, let's show the little streak of blue hair. Now that's intense support for the Indian cricket team. What does it feel for you to have?
Super proud, super proud. It's redemption. Definitely feels like redemption.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, let's get your thoughts. How exciting is it that India has not sort of let us down in so many ways, given
it literally means everything.
The cricket team.
Because, yeah, we were remembering the last time we were watching a match finals in another pub and we didn't go back there because we were like, no, that can jinx us. So we needed to come back here, and this means so much. It's been the best day.
It's time for a short commercial break. Lots more news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
AI scientist, and some would even call him a rock star in the AI space.
We definitely need AI for is to unlock some of the mysteries of nature.
As someone who is an AI scientist, what is your goal?
Our civilization is facing a number of sort of challenges, and I think this is where AI comes into the picture.
Will this replace most jobs?
The new generation of AI models is that they have cognitive ability.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome. As you begin your week, we will get you all the news that's happening in India and around the globe. But first up, the big news coming from the world of sport. India are the champions of Champions Trophy. They beat New Zealand in a pulsating encounter in Dubai to clinch their seventh ICC title and the second successive one. But before we dip into the news from the world of sports, here are the headlines at this hour. India wins Champions Trophy after an ICC title comes to India after 12 years as they beat New Zealand by 4 wickets. This is their record third time that they have won the Champions Trophy. The Parliament session is set for a rocky start. The budget session will resume from today, and the opposition to target the centre on Waqf bill and delimitation. Mark Carney wins the race to become the Canadian PM. He has won the race to replace Justin Trudeau. Carney slams Trump's tariffs in the first speech. He says, "We'll keep retaliatory tariffs on US." China's tit-for-tat tariffs on US goods to take effect very soon.